So, you want to build Mondrak Glory Dominus. Well, let me show you how a real Mondrak player builds her. Mondrak Glory Dominus is 2 and double white for a 4/4 legendary creature Phyrexian Horror that says if one or more tokens will be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. You can also pay 1 and double Phyrexian white along with sacrificing 2 other artifacts and or creatures to put an indestructible counter on her. Spoiler alert, I don't have Annoyed Possession, so that's why I decided to make it my commander. Cause holy hell, doubling tokens in a dedicated token deck is insane. And I'm just now realizing that both episodes of this series so far are about making a shit ton of tokens. I mean, what can I say? Bigger board state, better player. But without wasting too much time, since these episodes are supposed to be quick, let's get into it. Let's start off with the secondary win con, Halo Fountain. It creates you tokens, it draws you cards, and it says win the game on it. What more could you want from a single card? Sometimes you can't just swing all your tokens and so on because they either die or they have propaganda or something like that up. So having this as an extra decently easy win con to get off makes it very valuable. After that, we got the rest of the card draw, and it's a mono white deck, so this is going to be short. Welcoming Vampire is a once per turn, but since you're going to be creating tokens on your turn probably every turn, this pretty much draws you an extra card every turn. Lauren of the Third Path is a disenchant on ETB, along with you drawing a card each turn, and making you pretty liked across the table by also having other people draw cards. Esper Sentinel is Esper Sentinel, and Howling Mine is just a cheap way to draw a card every single turn and make everyone like you again. We also got more token focused draw with Benny Brax, who is pretty easy to get out, is just an extra draw every turn again. Idol of Oblivion, which is pretty much the same thing, but it can also get you a 10/10 token eventually. And finally, Norn's Wellspring and Staff of the Storyteller are pretty much the same concept. Your tokens either enter or die, and the artifact gets counters. You pay 1 tap to remove counters to draw a card. Although Norn's Wellspring is way better since you also scry when they die. All this is in vain if you don't have enough mana, but it's all pretty cheap, so we'll probably have enough mana. I'm just trying to segue into mana rocks, man. We got Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Thought Vessel, and Pearl Medallion, which isn't really a mana rock, but it's the same concept. I'm actually going to save the actual token creators for last. So next we got a bunch of anthems for our numerous tokens. Since we're a mono white deck, Cage Sun gives all of our dudes +1/+1 as well as doubling our mana. Paladin class on level 2 also gives all of our dudes +1/+1 and also all of that eventually. Intangible Virtue also gives our tokens +1/+1 and gives them Vigilance. Phantom General is just a token lord on a creature. Leyline of the Meek is one that we can potentially get out for free, although it is all tokens, not just our tokens. Ultramarine's Honor Guard, which is another creature that buffs our dudes and can also make token copies of itself. Might Overseer, which gives you tokens +1/+0 and first strike on your turn, along with making tokens itself. And finally, Prava, who gives you tokens +1/+4 on your turn, and can also make tokens by itself. Although, all those stats mean absolutely nothing if we get our asses wiped by a Supreme Verdict. So we also need Protection. Teferi's Protection, preferably, since it's the best one, which saves you and your board state from pretty much everything. Flawless Maneuver, which is a free way to give all your creatures indestructible. And finally, Clever Concealment, which basically costs nothing since it has Convoke, and you can phase out any number of non-land opponents you control, saving not only your creatures for a turn, but enchantments, planeswalkers, etc. But we're not all defensive. We also have lots of offensive ways to affect the board, like removal. We obviously have the white staples of Swords of Plowshares and Path to Exile, along with Solitude, which is pretty much a free swords, Ablation and Generous Gift to get rid of non-creature threats, and Our Reckoning to pretty much destroy all creatures that aren't yours for the most part. Then we just got the rest of the non-token creed part of the deck. Neither White Orchid to ramp us, Soul Warden to gain us a shit ton of life, Congregate to gain us a shit ton of life times a million, Rumor Gatherer, which scries you for getting creatures on the battlefield and draws off the second trigger in a turn. And yes, this should have been the card draw section, but I don't care enough to rewrite that part, so here it is. See it as a nice little bonus card draw for y'all. And finally, Divine Visitation, which makes you 4/4 Angels of Flying and Vigilance instead of whatever creature tokens you would create, which is probably the best card in the deck. And now we get to the second third of the deck, the cards that have the main purpose of creating tokens. Smothering Tithe is different than the rest since it creates treasure tokens instead of creature tokens, but other than that, let's start off with the 1/1 white tokens. We have a lot of cards in here that just create 1/1s with no abilities. Even though they have a bunch of different creature types, it doesn't really matter. Elspeth Tyrael and Elspeth Sun's Champion both create 3 dudes, along with gaining life, board wiping, and buffing them. Increasing Devotion gets you 5 dudes and gives you 10 more in Flashback. Entrapment Maneuver makes someone sack an attacking creature and you create X dudes where X is its toughness. Rabble Rousing has Hideaway 5, and you get a dude for each creature you control attacking, and then if you have 10 or more dudes, you get to cast the hidden card for free. Secure the Waste is the best X spell token creator in my opinion, since you get to just do it on your opponent's instep and then swing and kill them out of nowhere. Harmonious Archon gets you 2 dudes and then makes all other creatures base stats 3/3, so it's kind of like a double Anthem in addition to getting you dudes. Marshal Coop, who gets you X dudes and then destroys all other creatures if X is 5 or more. Deploy to the Front gives you a dude for each creature on the battlefield, and Nomad's Assembly gets you a dude for each creature you control and has Rebound. And that's a lot of 1/1s. But wait, we aren't done. We also got Skrell's Hive to give us mites every turn that have Toxic 1 and can't block, along with White Sun's Twilight, which gains you X life and gives you X mites, and again, if X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. Then we have the cards that give us 1/1 flyers, like Requiem Angel, which gives us a 1/1 flying spirit every single time a non-spirit creature we control dies other than itself. Battle Screech gives you 2 birds, which you can immediately flash it back if you have your commander out, because it gives you 4 instead. Court of Grace, which makes you the Monarch and gives you a Spirit at your upkeep, or a 4/4 Angel if you're the Monarch. Benevolent Offering gives you and an opponent 3 flying dudes, along with having you and an opponent gain some life. In your case, a lot of life probably. And then finally, we have the other miscellaneous token creators. Ajani Strength of the Pride makes an Ajani Primate token, along with, again, gaining you life, and is also just a better Ingarrick's Wake. The Eternal Wanderer makes you double striking 2/2s along with flickering stuff and being a board wipe. The Wandering Emperor has Flash and creates a 2/2 with Vigilance along with putting counters on creatures and being removal. Silverwing Squadron gets you a 2/2 with Vigilance for each opponent you have every time it attacks, along with being a big boy himself. Felidar Retreat gives you a 2/2 cat on landfall, or buffs your entire team with counters and vigilance. White Sun Zenith gives you X 2/2 cats and then shuffles back in your deck. Finale of Glory gives you X 2/2 soldiers with vigilance, and then if X is 10 or more, you also get X 4/4 angels with flying and vigilance, to really show them who's boss. Defenders of Humanity gives you X 2/2s with vigilance, and you can also do it again pretty much, but only if you have no creatures. Space Marine Devastator destroys an artifact or enchantment on ETB, along with being able to make token copies of itself. Stunheim Unleashed creates a 4/4 angel with flying and vigilance, but you can also foretell it to create X instead, and you're always going to foretell this pretty much. Devout Invocation has you tap any number of creatures you control to create that many 4/4 flying angels that are tapped, and even though this card seems really bad, it has won me multiple games, so I'm keeping it in. And finally, Helm of the Host to create token copies of your commander, to create even more token copies, to create even more token copies. And last, but probably least actually, we have the lands. We have Flagstones of Trocaire in case of land destruction, Windbrisk Heights as another easy hideaway card, Emeria the Sky Ruin because free reanimation every turn is pretty cool, and Castle Ardervale can create you a 1/1 dude if you're really that down bad, and 29 planes to round off the deck. You see, while Anthems and all are great in token decks, and most token commanders are Anthems or just create tokens themselves, Mondrak just being a copy of pretty much the best token card ever made, just in the command zone, is insane. And for the cost of 1 mana, 4 life, and 2 of your 50 tokens, you can just make it indestructible at instant speed is even more ridiculous. So go out there, make a million tokens, and swarm over everyone with as many little guys as you can, and for the love of God, make sure you have a lot of dice. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh no, 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 no.
What?
We forgot to make the Mondrak altar, and the cards for the set are getting printed tomorrow.
Calm down, calm down. I have an idea.
Alright.
Pull up the regular art.
Okay.
Now, zoom in.
Alright.
Now, trace it.
Trace it?
Just do it.
Okay, okay. Now what?
That's it. You're done.
Oh. Okay. I guess that was actually pretty easy.